Hey guys, so I wanted to speak more about my story and a situation that happened with me, and the reason why I say for you guys to speak up and open up when it comes to your truth and who you are and what you've been through. So, if you go back to my YouTube, you'll see that I shared a story that's the title, a bit about me or a bit of my story, something like that. And in the video, I was speaking about an experience I went through as a child, right? I remember this story clearly since I was a kid. I never forgot what happened. And in healing my inner child, I was acknowledging things that happened that day and my experience and who I am and where my journey brought me, right? So I wanted to confront my mother about it because she kept messaging me, acting like everything was not, nonchalant, everything is cool, which it hasn't been. I've been through a lot of I went through a lot of verbal, mental, physical abuse with my mom and my dad as well. I've been through abuse with both. Like I mentioned before, both sides of my family were heavily involved in witchcraft. That is how my parents met. So they have experience with playing with and dabbling in magic and doing a lot of things like that and keeping it hidden, keeping it in the dark. And for some reason well, I already know what the reason is, but she tried to keep me from knowing who I am and what's going on in my life and my purpose and my journey. And anytime that I was curious about it, she would get really upset and start a fight with me or whatever. But specifically this story, I had confronted her and asked her if she remembered what happened that day, and she completely denied it. Then she tried to make me seem like I was crazy. Tried to make it seem like I have a mental health issue and all these things could be wrong with me because my family has a history of this, that, and the other. Told me she was tired, gave me a list of diagnoses that I could have or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And mind you, when I was going through things before all of this and discovering who I was confused because I didn't understand what I was dealing with and what was going on in my life at the time. And so I would try to self-diagnose myself, and she would tell me now this and that and the other, blah, blah, blah. Now that I am walking in my purpose and I know who I am, she's trying to downplay who I am and act like I don't know what I'm talking about. Like I'm just like a fanatic. Like I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know like what I'm just full of it basically. Not trying to acknowledge me as a person. I went through a lot of narcissistic abuse. To make it seem like I have a mental health issue and all these things could be wrong with me because my family has a history of this, that, and the other. Told me she was tired, gave me a list of diagnoses that I could have or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And mind you, when I was going through things before all of this and discovering who I was confused because I didn't understand what I was dealing with and what was going on in my life at the time. And so I would try to self-diagnose myself, and she would tell me now this and that and the other, blah, blah, blah. Now that I am walking in my purpose and I know who I am, she's trying to downplay who I am and act like I don't know what I'm talking about. Like I'm just like a fanatic. Like I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know like what I'm just full of it basically. Not trying to acknowledge me as a person. I went through a lot of narcissistic abuse. Through a lot of narcissistic abuse throughout my life and past relationships. The thing with narcissism is I do believe is very connected to dark entities and trying to keep chosen ones and earth angels from their purpose and from discovering who they are, bringing a lot of pain into their lives and to try to stop them in their journey. So it's deep, it's real deep, you know. That's why there's so many of them. That's why so many people are going through stuff and they're not able to really help when it comes to narcissistic abuse like that. Like I've studied narcissistic abuse and to understand what it is that I was dealing with, and now that I understand what that is and I'm on my spiritual path, it makes complete sense. They are not, it's just hard to explain. Like these people are specifically here to cause pain. So anyway, I had a feeling she was going to deny knowing or remembering anything, deny me having any gifts or abilities that she knows, because I asked her specifically, do you remember anything from my childhood? And I know there's a couple of things I for sure remember that I'm like, come on now. That happened a long time ago. I was like 5, 6. I did the math. It was about when I was 6 years old. And she denied that, but she remembers all these other things. And I had a feeling that if I had asked my aunt, then my aunt was going to spill and say some things that she knew or she remembered and told me stuff, because I was also feeling that she was going to speak up and tell me something. It was, I asked my aunt, and sure enough, she remembered that specific, she remembered a toy that I mentioned, because it happened. I was messing with it the day after that happened. I think I probably mentioned it in my video, but it was, you'll see in a message that I'm gonna attach to this. Okay, she remembered that. She also wanted to kind of like come at me like, well, since when did I believe, or since when do I have faith, or whatever, in our religion. Now, the religion she's speaking about is the Santeria religion. Mind you, Santeria is my roots. I've always believed, because it's always been a part of my family. But I also have always had faith in God. I've also always had a relationship with God since I was a child. So it's very deep and very different for me compared to the experiences they had. She gave me the confirmation that I needed, that I already knew within, that they both knew. Like, at first I wasn't going to say anything, because I'm like, I've always just like, you know what, I'm just going to brush it off and I'm not going to talk about it, because it's not going to go nowhere. And I know, blah, blah, blah. But a big part of me wanted to speak up, just so that I can be like, okay, I know exactly what I'm talking about. You guys have been questioning this and that. I know what you guys have been doing this entire time. It's just like a moment of, let me let it out, so that y'all can know I know, but also so I know for my confirmation that I've been right this entire time. And that's what I got. I got exactly that. I got what I needed in that moment. God really pushed me to speak on it, and that's the part. That right there is the part that's like the big deal, is that I was pushed by the Spirit. I was pushed by Spirit. All of this to say, do not doubt yourself, who you are. You know who you are better than anyone else does. Trust yourself. Have faith in yourself. In this situation, I've been going through so much, and so much is going to be revealed. I've been dealing with a spiritual warfare with my kids, with my family, because of them playing games with my life. And all of these things are going to come out in the open. They're not going to have no choice but to face their judgment while I get my justice. Speak up and speak out in your truth. I'm going to share the messages to this video so you guys can see part of what I've had to deal with. It's not all of my story, but it's part of it, and you guys will see more. Thank you.